to Pit Stop Vibes. Today we are having what we call the meetup, and you can see we're joined by millennials, and they are currently in their natural habitat on IG, Snapchat, or whatever they are doing. Today we're going to have real conversations. Where do we begin, guys?
I think we can actually begin at where you say, the millennials on their phones, which for many of us comes out as a lazy attitude and a lazy habit in the workplace, especially because many times instead of when you look at millennials, instead of seeing them sitting and working like the rest of us, you'll always find them on their phones. You'll find them on the phone, either talking, either scrolling through the phone, and a question comes out. What's more important? Is it the work that you're supposed to be doing? Or is it, being in communication on your phone? So the question comes about, is it really that, because they will say they're not lazy, but for us, or rather for the older generations, we'll feel like this is a lazy habit because growing up, you were taught that, the lazy people are the ones who will be chatting and cracking jokes and everything instead of focusing on their work.
As a millennial, I'd say the question is, what are we looking for? Is it quality or quantity? Because the systems that Generation X has put in place are not conducive for people to work well. So you guys have an 8 to 5 day, a 1 hour break for lunch maybe, and you have to work overtime if you're trying to make it anywhere past the certain base level that you've been hired in. So if you're an intern and you're doing 8 to 5, you're not going to progress. If you're a base level manager and you're doing 8 to 5, you're not going to progress. So the question millennials ask themselves is, what do you want? Do you want us to work for 12 hours and do nothing, or would you want us to work for 6 hours and do a lot more than we would? Because what do you want? Do you want quality or do you want quantity? So sometimes when we're on our phones, we just need to chill and have a break. But when we work, we work. So because I feel like you guys, you accuse us of being lazy, but you always just see us when we're doing the things that you think we're not doing. But when we work, we work. I don't think millennials are lazy when they've said, this 1 hour I'm going to sit down and do my work. We're not. So that would be my response.
And maybe just to add on what he's saying, we can do your work, the work you do 8 to 5, we can do it in 3 hours. Like we just say we are dedicating this time and we do it for 3 hours and we are done. The rest of the hours we are looking at what is happening in the other world, what is happening in US and all that. So yeah.
And to back them up, you just found me on phone. You didn't ask what I was doing with the phone. Maybe I was just reading an article, or maybe I was doing my emails on the phone rather than doing them on the laptop. Yeah.
I think for us, we actually think more about how can we do something in the shortest time possible, how efficient can we be. So like if we're efficient in the 2 hours, we'll do it to our best in the 2 hours. But for you guys, it's 8 to 5 and we'll fix it. Because I think you've been accustomed to the entire mentality that, so this is the work you have to do like from 8 to 5. But for us, it's more of, it's an 8 to 5 job, yes, but I can do it from 8 to 10. And after 10, I'm done. What else can I do afterwards? There's a lot I can do afterwards. That's why you find most of us having side hustles afterwards, because we have time for it.
I think if I speak for Gen X, so I hear that you can do work quickly. Our bone of contention is, so when you finish the stipulated work, how come you don't come and ask for more? Because that's how we are cultured. So you're not coming to ask for more. So my assumption is you're doing things quickly so that then you can run and do your own work. Am I correct?
Actually, it's interesting because I've done this a couple of times before, having worked in the HR environment for a while, being able to provoke responses from the people that I'm talking to, and that's why I started by saying they're lazy, because that provokes them to now come and actually tell us what actually is happening. Because if you really look at it, yes, as Marcy said, maybe the work that the Xers and the baby boomers, but who are the ones who set up the structures. Back then, there was nothing else to do. So it was, you sit there and do this kind of work, and at some point, it's hard work because you're learning the ropes. Once you've gotten to know the ropes, it becomes easy. And you find organizations where, because it's so repetitive, people get bored. right? But then the organization thinks that that is productivity. So the question is it negative productivity or positive productivity? Negative productivity is where I'm saying I have to be here for 8 hours. So I will do my job, and being at Generation X, it doesn't mean that I'm not lazy, right? Because the fact that I'm seated behind that desk doesn't mean I'm working for the 8 hours. Maybe I'm only productive for 3 and I'm pretending the rest of the time, which takes a lot of energy as well. Now, for them, it's for the millennials, I think, and from what I'm hearing from them, is that, if I'm not working, I will not work and I will not pretend. So I'll work for the 3 hours, I'll be creative for the 3 hours, and then I'll do something else, whether it's research or play Candy Crush or whatever it is. And we're getting to start learning that, it's also a coping mechanism, especially for millennials, because as it is right now, we're hearing about 70% of depression cases among us millennials is at the workplace. And possibly this is my thought, that maybe that's how they're trying to cope, because you find, whether they're playing a game or doing something else, walking to talk to someone else, chatting, we've got all this WhatsApps and all that is here right now, which was not there before. So again, the environment that is changing brings about a new necessity where we need to start understanding each other and start talking the same language. And the only way we can start talking the same language is, like, for me, to stop assuming that because he's not on his laptop and he's on his phone, he's being lazy or he's doing something that he shouldn't be doing. And for them to also be able to try and understand where I'm coming from when I'm saying, by the way, if you're not doing this, then it might be that either you're lazy or you're skiving work, for lack of a better word.
I'd like to respond to her question. She asked us, when you are done with the 3 hours, then why don't you come back and ask for more work? This is the reason. Every time you get into a job market, you're given a job description and you're told this is what you're supposed to do and everything. And you have a weekly meeting where you say, this is what needs to be achieved by the end of this week. So what we do, because we have other things that we are doing outside, like we see... we tend to put the work that is put for 5 days, we put it in 2 days. So we stress ourselves. If you are waking up at 5 a.m., you come and work up to around 12 noon, and you are done with the whole work for the whole, like you've committed yourself to do that for the whole week. So we can't just go back and ask the boss, I need more work. I need more work, because I also need some time out to also to think and also to help grow this other side hustle I have. If it's I love emceeing, I need to find other ways of studying. I have to go to school. I have to have maybe hang out with a few friends of mine, and then also I need also to feed what inspires me most. So yeah.
Also, maybe Josephine, I think I need to mention that millennials are committed to their own personal development, not to their employer, right? And so again, it is increasingly becoming very difficult for employers even to manage and to really just hold these millennials off from doing other things. So I want to come and do this shoot and the next time I'm with another media house doing something else, then in the evening I'm shooting at a club somewhere, and please don't make me sign those non-compete and those kinds of paperwork that employers want to make millennials sign, right? And then I also think millennials want to really take I don't, Kisaka or Masi, somebody has mentioned that please, let's not pretend. If I can do this work in 4 hours, why am I pretending to be working for the next 6 hours, yet I could be somewhere earning an extra shilling? You see, and again, so I've seen some other organizations take a very radical approach, and they say, you go start your own side hustle. And I've actually seen this in several organizations. Go start your side hustle, and anytime you're not working for this organization, go do it. And in fact, we'll go the next step and make sure if we need any service that you're providing from that organization, we will hire from you. So I know an events company right here in Kenya. One guy has gone and done these digital metal detectors, and anytime they have an event, they go to the employee and say, will you come and provide this at our event? Somebody else has bought some tents and some chairs, and they come and say, we are having an event. Will you provide tents? Will you bring chairs? And I guarantee you, these guys will do your work. They will die for your company. You will call them at 1 a.m. and they will come through for you.
I agree that, but I want to, and the word is not defend Generation Xers. So you have an organization. At the point at which you are being hired, why weren't you transparent? And why didn't you declare that you're doing all these other things? Because I think that's where the bone of contention comes in. I had no idea you are passionate about all these other things. All of a sudden now you want to treat me like the bad person, but I didn't know. So when I'm inundating you with work, you're there like, oh, it's too much, I'm not growing in other areas. Which other areas? When I asked you, do you have any goals? You said no. Why?
Question. A quick one, just to add on to what you're saying. Are you more interested in if I deliver results as you have told me, or are you more interested in what else I'm doing? Are you more interested in, you told me deliver 10 bags of beans by the end of the day, or you're delivering 50 to another person? Which are you more interested in?
In the results.
Exactly. And number two, some of these things are not so, even to you, they are not very clear when you're coming on. But as you go on, you discover, hi, kumbe I have another passion, in something else. Kumbe I can do something else here. And so you cannot ask why they didn't declare at the point of entry, because even maybe for them it was not as clear as it is now.
So what should, as you respond, and I am speaking on behalf of organizations that are there that have policies that cannot be changed overnight. So I want you to speak so that they hear what are some of the things that make it hard for you when you're being onboarded to declare, like what you've said.
So for me, I'd say that we need to look at, first of all, this whole culture of side hustle, yeah? And why it suddenly came up to be. So let me give you two scenarios. So one scenario is a university student in the University of Nairobi in the 1980s and a university student of University of Nairobi in 2018 or 19. So the university student in the 80s, let me use my parents as an example, knew that if once I graduate as a lawyer, as a doctor, as a whatever, physicist, I graduate and I will get a job. It's almost a guarantee. It was literally a 98% chance that if you graduated from any university, even if you did like a diploma, you're getting a job. Fast forward to the scenario that it is now. First of all, if you're a university student in the University of Nairobi, you'll graduate in like 6, 7, or 10 years simply because of all the strikes and whatever's going on. So the system is failing us. So now that's the whole, because I'm one of those millennials who feels like I don't want to have a side hustle. I want to know that if I want to do this and I can do this, there'll be a system and an organization in place that can afford me or take me in. But nowadays, millennials were working for basically nothing. So if you graduate and then suddenly you don't have a job. So if you don't have a job, you get an internship for like a year or two that's not even paying you. So now on top of that, and we're supposed to follow your policies whilst not looking for other things to do. So it's like we've kind of been forced to be thinking always ready to look at other things to do, focus on other things, have a side hustle here and there, simply because we're not being helped. So like we're talking about millennials in the job market, but how many millennials are in the job market in Nairobi right now, in Kenya, compared to those that are not? You get my point? So it's like, let's talk about the people who are struggling. You guys have all watched the Citizen docu that came out of a guy who's on the streets and he's a first class. So it's like, at this point, if we don't have other things, or if we're not always consistently looking out to be or do other things and be involved in all these other things, we'll be alone, we'll be left behind. So that's my...
I think if I can just chime in. I think the challenge we have as Gen X is we're kind of in between. I like what you're saying, that our folks, the people who are in school in the 80s, had a sense of security, assurance after campus. We are sort of in the middle, because I was in campus in the 90s, late 90s, and that assurance of the job was not there. And the truth is, today as we speak, job security is a myth. There's no one who has a just secure job, no matter what you do. Anything can happen. Your business can go under, you can be laid off, anything can happen to anyone at any point in time. And we're coming out of a place where we did not have that security that our folks had, and we don't have the benefit of what millennials have today, which is the variety, the options. I know a millennial today can decide, whatever, I'm going to start something completely unique. And there's a sense of I can succeed at this. It might take a while, but I'll succeed. When I was leaving campus, there was no such option. I didn't have the option of choosing something else. So I think there's a sense of security. I think there's a sense of security that millennials have in the variety of options you can take, which we as Gen X did not have. And I think we do not have even now, because we're at a stage where, fine, I can start something unique, but for me to gain traction would be much harder, I guess. And I don't have that mindset. So I think we are sort of in the middle. We don't have the security of our baby boomers or our folks, and we don't have sort of like the variety that a millennial would have.
Okay, I'd like to respond to a question Josephine asked about when we get into these interviews, why don't we declare? And I think Joe touched a bit and said sometimes we don't know. However, we are those who we know already. But when you go for an interview, the boss when the boss asks you what you're doing and everything, they don't because there's so many people looking for jobs. There's so many people who are outside. You go for an interview, like 50 or 60 people, and now you want to tell me, I'll tell my boss that I have this side hustle that I can do after work. They don't want to hear that. They only want to hear that you are totally sold out for the job, that specific job and that company you're working for. So that's why you find most millennials, things start now coming out when they're already in the job market, because they need a footing in that company. And that's the only way they can do that is not to tell everything about this path, not to tell about these other things I do, but I know I am sure, 100% sure I can do this work, and I can do 100% and I will deliver. That's it. Yeah.
So sorry, go on then.
To add on what Mercy said, we millennials want more. I can't come and you employ me in a job of 20,000, and you as my employer, you have your own property somewhere. I also need to grow. I want to reach where you've reached. I want to have my own plots. I want to have my own company. That's why we look for those side hustles.
Just to add on to that, it's also like me and my father and my grandfather, we have a lot of discussions about what constitutes a man being a man. So, and why me and my father are currently in conflict is because he believes that I'm not doing what a man should do. And what should a man do? Once you graduate, you go get a job, you get out of the house, you get, as in. But so now, as millennials, we're being accused of like not being able to handle ourselves. But you'll find that you've graduated, you can't find a job, but you need to get out of the house because you're a man. You need to you need to be on your feet. You need to have somewhere you can live, somewhere you can call your home, start your life. And then so it's that whole back and forth where, so you guys are accusing us of being lazy and not being, we're not active, taking care of your life. And we're like, no, we're trying. And then, so it's like we're in this weird stage. So like right now, especially like being someone who's like 23 to 27 in Nairobi as a man, it's so much pressure. It's so difficult. And then so like you end up getting into a job that you don't want to be in, and then that's why we're all getting depressed. That's why people, it's hectic. And I don't understand why we're not communicating or why we don't understand each other.
Yeah.
And it's just killing us.
Yeah, and then also something to add on that, the economy right now of Kenya, like right now, when you want to get maybe a bed sitter, you'll get it around between 5,000. So like a bedsitter is just where like a penthouse where you want to just to lay a studio apartment. So like it's around if you want to live a safe place, because you're coming home at midnight, maybe 12 in the midnight. So a best safe place you can get a best bedsitter, it's between 10,000 and 15,000. Tell me, an employer has employed you and is giving you 20,000. You have to pay rent 10, and then maybe you're living somewhere. Your work is in Ngong Road and you're living somewhere like in Thika Road, so you're using your transport 200 per day. So when you count on this, you don't even have food. Everything goes to rent and goes to transport. Even sometimes is not enough for transport. So when you calculate this, I need another hustle for me to be able to get money to feed me, even to clothe me. And then when I come in the office, my shoes are torn. You tell me this is not our culture. But you don't understand where I'm coming from. Maybe I've even trekked for the better part of the journey. I've trekked to be able to be at the work on time, so that I can even be able to get another amount, so that when I go home, I have fare to take me there. So you find, and I know, and when you go to the office and then somebody tells you like, that there are many people are looking for jobs. You're giving me 20,000 and then you're telling me many people are looking for jobs. Now why will I not have a side hustle?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, but I want to just to react to see that, to just be clear that I'm hearing what you're saying. As an institution, as the organizations that I'm representing, we need to be able to understand that the current environment is different from what how we started this company. So maybe when you started your company, if you've been in business for 15 to maybe 20 years, times are different. So you need to be able to create a safe environment where your employees can be honest and transparent and let you declare everything that they're doing. And two, what I heard you saying is that be clear, just know that what they're doing does not necessarily always have to compete with you. If you think, if you're open-minded, it can actually complement and it can be additional income into your organization. Three, what you're saying is that millennials, I like what you guys were saying, that they can do an 8 to 5 job in 2 or 3 hours. So for me, that already shows that millennials have a lot of skills. They are underutilized. So engage them more. That the reason why you guys are getting bored is we are done. The people who are operating, you still have factory mentality where it took a whole day to make one part of, it's like factory system. But you guys have grown up in a situation where everything is automated. So you have more time. Why are we not utilizing you to take these organizations to the next level? Joe, you wanted to react?
Yes. So this might sound very harsh, but I want to, let you know, especially in response to what you said, that your emergencies really are not your employer's emergencies, and so are your priorities, yeah? And the other thing you need to understand is that process. So when you see your boss, and I'm saying this because I've had this over and over again. Somebody saying, my employer is paying me 12,000. Yet he's traveling, to the US, to the UK, and they seem to be living the good life. They seem to be going to Java. Na mimi nakula kwa kibanda. You know what the difference between you and them is? Process. They have gone through a process. They have had to work hard. They've earned that. And please do not expect to get that when you're 23 and they are hook of 53, and you're trying to compare yourself with them, yeah? So please understand that there is a process, and with it is some growth that you have to go through. The other thing you mentioned about bed sitter and such, I think millennials, we are living beyond our means, right? So we must find a way of survival. For me, my first internship, I paid for an internship, then I did a free one, then my first job was being given 5,000, which was not even enough for fare. And for me, I couldn't say I'm not taking this job because you're paying me 5K. No, what I did, I asked myself, okay, how can I reorganize my life to fit into that? So if you need to, moving with a friend, there is no harm imagining your value of life won't go down if you're sharing a house with 4 of your friends as you grow your way up. But if you bring all your pressures and load them on your employer and say, you have to make sure, it is your load to make sure that I live in a bed sitter, one bedroom which is 15K. That's not gonna happen at all. You mentioned something to do with dependency. I feel like millennials are so dependent on the Gen X. I feel that vibe. You're not doing enough, to grow us, to lift us up. And as I think it's Mutiga who rightly mentioned, the parents were not there. You had to figure your way out. They were busy working. But then your understanding is different because you're like, I need somebody to hold my hand. It is not uncommon I've received very many requests from millennials and say they come every day and say, can you mentor me? I'm not sure if you guys ever went to anybody asking them for mentorship. Very rarely, you see. And so the question here is, to whom have you placed that burden of personal development to? Do you see it as your own personal initiative that I will do whatever it needs to take? I'm gonna feel James Mwangi wa Equity asipokaa na mimi ama XYZ CEO, then me I cannot make it. And so I think there's a different understanding as to who owns the process and the journey of our personal development. And if you don't demystify that, then you're gonna be in this problem for quite some time.
Yeah, you've actually said a lot of good things. But I think another point of disconnect is the fact that So some of the things that were actually created by Generation X, for example, Facebook, is or social media, are the things that are giving us this pressure. So like I sit on my phone and I scroll through my phone for 5 minutes and I will see 122-year-olds around this world who are all driving the latest car, who are all, you get what I mean? So it's like every day I look on my phone and I'm bombarded by people my age doing bigger and better things. And even if they're lying about it or whatever, I still see it. So you get what I'm saying? So like we need help. So I know it's up to us to figure it out, but it's also up to, so that's why like a lot of millennials need mentorship, because it's like if you're growing up and you start seeing this from like 11, 12, we have YouTubers who are 9, 8 making millions, as in just, so for us it's like, okay, I'm seeing all these people my age doing better, and I know that I'm supposed to not focus on that and I'm supposed to focus on my own personal growth, but I'm still getting hit constantly every single day, just being reminded of how far I am from where I'm supposed to be. And yes, I can't do it by myself. I need someone holding my hand and telling me, listen, don't listen to the noise. 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 And that's where I think Generation X is failing. And that's you're not helping us and you're not walking with us the way we need you to.
Can I chime in? Sorry, can I chime in about that? And I sympathize, by the way, because that's a lot of pressure. The truth is, we all have peer pressure, all of us. Even us Gen X, we look around and nobody is doing as well as they think they are. And there's always that pressure. I think pressure comes from value. If what you value is the money, is the glitz, it's the fame, it's the cars, then you'll feel pressure about that. I wouldn't feel pressure about somebody who's doing something that doesn't matter to me. You know, if somebody is building toilets somewhere and they're succeeding at doing it, it won't matter to me because I don't value that. So I think it's a question of values. What do you value? Is it more important to you that you live a flashy life, or is what you do more valuable? The side hustles that you do, the things that you're engaged in, the passions that you have. If you're engaged in those things and you see other people succeeding, then what that does is it gives you motivation. I think peer pressure comes because you're valuing the wrong things, and because the things that you're seeing other people doing, it's things that are not tied to what you are important to you, and that gives you pressure. If it's something that's valuable to you, that is important to you, then that kind of that information will inspire you. It'll actually make you work harder. But if it's making you depressed or making you stressed, then that means the value system is off, and that's the problem. That to me is that's a problem that millennials have. The value system is off, in my opinion.
I think the bigger issue here is that we don't understand each other. Yep. So Generation X have one set of rules that they abide by and how they were raised, and millennials have a totally different mindset, and we don't seem to understand each other. This conversation cannot end today. The reason why we all wore masks is because it's funny how when we enter organizations, whether you're a millennial or you're a Generation X, you come in with a mask. And I like what you said, whether it's from when you are being interviewed, you knew that the reason I was hired was because I gave this persona. And that's a mask you have to wear every single day, except when you get home. If you're a Gen X, I have a perception, and I love the way most people were saying that, no, we've been employed, you have a shamba, you have... What they don't tell you is some of these people maybe are in debt, and they don't own any of that. But so everyone is wearing a mask, and we all have labels to each other. Maybe that's what we need to start doing, having more of these conversations, removing the masks and being courageous enough to say, this is how it was when I was growing up. This is how I made it, and this is how you can make it. I'm not perfect, but I'm willing to help you. This conversation carries on our platforms at Pitstop Forum, Twitter, IG, and Facebook, Pitstop Forum. Follow us and use a hashtag #InterGenConversations. Want to hear your thoughts. We ask the questions. We are ready to have this discussion. Thank you for watching.